The best Isekai anime set in games, ranked. While not a recent invention, Isekai has grown especially popular in manga and anime over the last decade. The success of series like Sword Art Online helped usher in a new era when everyone and, occasionally, their mother is being sent to alternate worlds defined by rebounds per game mechanics. As tired as the formula can get at times, Isekai has produced some gems that serve as fantastic wish fulfillment series. Which are the best Isekai game anime? Synonymous as the theme might be with RPGs, only a handful of shows state that they take place within games. However, plenty of anime are set in fantasy worlds built upon traditional gaming conventions. The summer 2024 season is just about to start, and it includes one Isekai anime set in a game. Hopefully, it proves to be better than spring 2024's The New Gate, which is just too forgettable to warrant a spot in this article. That said, the show is inoffensive and harmless. Along with quality, the rankings also take into account the importance the Isekai anime gives to the game aspect of their worlds. Quality assurance in another world. The summer 2024 season has quite a few Isekai anime in its lineup, many of which will include video game mechanics to an extent. While set in a fantasy world, no longer allowed in another world will reference games for sure, all the while parodying Isekai tropes and featuring some fairly dark humor. It also will not be that surprising if failure frame, I became the strongest and annihilated everything with low-level spells and the strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was a human throw out some MMO elements. Still, none of these shows are set in a game world. However, the season has one anime that is undeniably set in a game, quality assurance in another world. Now, technically, this series might not 100% fit the Isekai blueprint since the protagonist is not teleported against their will into a game but rather works as a debugger who is monitoring and investigating glitches. Masamaki Sato's seinen manga has had a successful run since its 2020 debut, and its inspired premise lends itself well to comedy and also action. Teaming up with a young NPC, Nicola, who wants to see the world, Haga goes on a journey to research bugs and compile notes that can be sent back to the developers. Naturally, Nicola is not aware that she is a game character who lives in a village destined to be eradicated as a story event. 14. Skeleton Knight in Another World. My Anime List, 7.17. The spring 2022 season was stacked with Isekai anime, quite a few of which were happy to directly state they occur within game worlds. Skeleton Knight in Another World follows Ark, a gamer stuck as their reasonably powered character in a fantasy world defined by discrimination. Also, as the title suggests, Ark has a skeleton avatar, which is not a common sight in this universe. Skeleton Knight in Another World's strength lies in the relationships that form between the main characters. Ark, Ariane, and the adorable Ponta have a charming rapport that brings out the best in each of their personalities. As the story allows all the heroes to shine rather than just Ark, they come across as a genuine party whose members are equally vital in their own ways. For all its positives, Skeleton Knight in Another World's tone is all over the place, and the story often struggles to balance its mature themes and light-hearted banter. 13. In the Land of Ledale. My Anime List, 6.95. In the Land of Ledale is an enjoyable slow-life show about a woman who is reincarnated in a world based on a virtual reality MMORPG she used to escape to during her life. Not everything about Ledale is exactly as Kina, or Kana in-game, remembers, but the one thing that has remained the same is the world's fantastical elements. Putting aside the occasional action sequence in the Land of Ledale is predominantly happy to allow Kana to exist peacefully in her new home. The protagonist, and audience, is not on a mission to defeat some huge threat, even though she is quite powerful, but she primarily focuses on crafting a quiet and peaceful place in this universe. This premise makes for a relaxing Isekai anime. 12. I'm the villainess, so I'm taming the final boss. My Anime List, 7.22. I'm the Villainess, so I'm taming the final boss hits a few road bumps but is generally a smooth and enjoyable ride. On the day she has her engagement broken by the kingdom's prince, Aileen realizes she is the villainess of an at-home game she played in her previous life. To avoid a bad ending, she sets out to woo the Demon King, the charismatic Claude Jean Elmer. I'm the villainess, so I'm taming the final boss is at its best when focusing on Claude and Aileen's relationship since they have great chemistry. The story starts reasonably strong as well, but it loses some momentum when Aileen begins to live through the at-home game's sequel. However, the anime ends on a decent note. 11. Isekai Saga DT. My anime list, 7.14. Isekai is more of a premise than a genre, as any show featuring a protagonist who is transferred to another world qualifies. This premise leaves a lot of room for variety when it comes to tone. For example, Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World and Isekai Saga DT are both isekai anime, but the former is grim and complex while the latter is comedic and unapologetically stupid. A great player in an MMORPG, Kon Hokaz receives a friend request and, naturally, winds up in a fantasy world. Kon meets a princess, joins a party, and sets out to save the world. As its humor is quite immature, Isekai Saga DT is not for everyone, but it can be hilarious at times. 10. Villainous Level 99. I may be the hidden boss but I'm not the demon lord. My anime list, 7.13. Villainous Level 99. I may be the hidden boss but I'm not the demon lord might initially just seem like another run-of-the-mill take on Isekai's villainous subgenre. At face value, that prediction might not seem to be off the mark, especially since the show takes place in an at-home game world like quite a few of these stories. However, Villainous Level 99 is one of the fresher takes on the concept, a statement that can be credited entirely to Yumi Iladolkness, the protagonist. Rather than reincarnating as an arrogant aristocrat, Yumi Ila is a secret boss who is largely a minor character during the main story, with the latter culminating in the defeat of the Demon Lord. As the protagonist would rather avoid a future where she is killed by the heroine and her group of not-so-good boys, she decides to try and keep a low profile while attending school. Naturally, the exact opposite happens, and she ends up attracting a lot of attention due to her power level being 99, something she achieved by grinding dungeons solo. Yumi Ila is a delight. While not bad, protagonists in villainous isekai stories tend to have similar personalities, both in terms of traits and their outward behavior. Yumi Ila is awkward, funny, and quite stoic, which allows her to stand out from her contemporaries. The anime adds an element of mystery to its setting by hinting that the world might not be a direct copy of the at-home game. 9. Kuma 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 Bear. My anime list, 7.23, Season 1. Kuma 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 Bear is about Yuna, a girl who gets teleported into her favorite MMORPG with overpowered equipment that trivializes every battle. In this case, the protagonist's op status is not that much of an issue as the focus is on Yuna's friendships with the girls she meets on her travels, and this aspect of the show works well. The characters are likable, their interactions are amusing, and the humor is decent for the most part. One aspect of the anime that falls flat is world building. Kuma 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 Bear's world fantasy online is devoid of any unique features that separate it from other isekai anime set in MMORPGs, consequently, the setting is quite forgettable. Still, as a slow life option, this show does its job. 8. My next life as a villainess, all routes lead to doom. My anime list, 7.46, Season 1. The light novel industry has been obsessed with villainous at-home stories for several years, but the trend took a while to pick up steam in anime. My Next Life as a Villainess was among the first adaptations to make that transition, and it demonstrates the subgenre's appeal well. Katarina Clays suddenly realizes she has been living in an at-home game called Fortune Lover and that she is the villain who has a future of bad endings to look forward to. This awareness inspires Katarina to get creative, as she tries to go against destiny and attain a happy ending for a character who is specifically forbidden. Despite being set in a dating sim, My Next Life as a Villainess primarily focuses on its main character's development and drive, with romance taking somewhat of a backseat. The first season is especially memorable since Katarina is genuinely fighting an uphill battle to carve a safe future, a process that delivers plenty of laughs along the way. While still enjoyable, the sequel season lacks much of that tension, resulting in a more forgettable experience. 7. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. My Anime List, 6.85. More often than not, an Isekai anime will center around a hikikomori who spends all of his time in an MMORPG. Be it death or a summoning gone wrong, the character ends up in a fantasy world where he is an instant hero, mainly because he retains his stats from the MMORPG. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord is a stereotypical Isekai anime in a lot of ways, but it rises above its contemporaries through sheer personality and strong comedic timing. Although powerful, Takuma Sakamoto, the anime's resident hikikomori-turned-demon lord, retains his social anxiety while in the game world. Consequently, it is not all smooth sailing for the protagonist. 6. Sword Art Online, First Cour. My Anime List, 7.20. Sword Art Online is the first anime most people are likely to think about when discussing Isekai stories set in games. With a fantastic opening stretch of episodes and multiple seasons to follow, Sword Art Online presents a string of interesting worlds that are not always explored to their full potential. Sword Art Online is far from perfect, including a rather bland protagonist, but it has enough memorable action scenes to make watching it worthwhile. It should be said that the franchise's best incarnation, Sword Art Online Alternative, Gun Gale Online, is not an Isekai, instead opting to just take place within a game similar to something like Shangri-La Frontier. 5. The Most Heretical Last Boss Queen, From Villainess to Savior. My Anime List, 7.08. By law, an anime season must have at least 5 Isekai shows, and summer 2023 did not disappoint in this area. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation Season 2 was undoubtedly the cream of the crop, far surpassing the theme's other seasonal offerings. Be that as it may, the latter releases can still be worth watching in their own right. In terms of Isekai anime set in games, only one summer 2023 show was officially set within such a universe, The Most Heretical Last Boss Queen, From Villainess to Savior. Based on Tenetchi's light novel series, Last Boss Queen is among the better examples of the villainous Isekai trend. As is often the case, the female protagonist is reincarnated as the antagonist of an at-home game who is destined for a rough end. Consequently, she must work tirelessly to change her new life's trajectory. Last Boss Queen shakes things up by putting its lead in the shoes of a genuinely horrible villainess, rather than one who kind of becomes evil after being rejected. Pride, the character in question, is also powerful, which is not all that common in these sorts of stories. 4. Trapped in a dating sim, the world of at-home games is tough for mobs. My Anime List, 7.34. Trapped in a dating sim overcomes a clunky start to grow into an endearing show. After being forced to play through a dating sim by his sister, Leon stumbles down the stairs and dies. He is then reborn into the game's world, which revolves around a society that empowers women over men. Using his knowledge, Leon sets out to craft a comfortable life for himself, but he quickly finds himself tied to the game's heroine and villain. Leon is refreshingly blunt and vicious, particularly during the first half of the season. His relationships with Olivia and Angelica, along with the friendship between the girls, serve as the heart and soul of the story, and they more than make up for the anime's lackluster animation. 3. I'm in love with the villainess. My Anime List, 7.37. When it comes to new Isekai anime, fall 2023 had an okay bunch. Buterba, the story of a man who turned into a pig, was simultaneously fascinating and dull, while I Shall Survive Using Potions, was a harmless show that goes in one ear and out the other. Finally, there was I'm in Love with the Villainess, an adaptation of a popular light novel. Although perhaps not fully living up to expectations, the anime was still pretty good and one of the season's funnier comedies. Overworked to death, Rei awakens as the protagonist, Rei, of one of her favorite Atome games, and she instantly sets out to woo the villainess, Claire. The latter is perplexed and creeped out by Rei, at least initially, but they do eventually start to form a friendship. I'm in Love with the Villainess offers a fun twist on the villainous formula, and Rei is a force of nature that regularly attracts hilarious reactions from Claire. 2. Hack//Sign. My anime list, 6.95. Hack//Sign is often hailed as the forefather of Isekai anime set in games, but the show has quite a different tone to most series that would eventually follow it. Tsukasa, a timid player, wakes up in the world, an MMORPG, without any memories or the ability to leave. Hack//Sign is not interested in explosive action sequences or constantly supplying answers, opting to instead focus on Tsukasa's psyche and his relationships with other characters. The anime moves at an incredibly slow pace that will put off some people, thankfully. Hack//Sign's character writing is great. 1. Log Horizon. My anime list, 7.92, Season 1. Like the 30,000 players stuck in Elder Tales world, Log Horizon goes out of its way to ensure viewers get to experience what it is really like to exist in an MMORPG. While there is some action, the anime primarily focuses on world building and character growth. It is firmly about how these people adapt to this situation and try to coexist with the NPCs and wildlife that populate Elder Tale. Log Horizon boasts a great protagonist, Shiro, who uses his mind rather than his brawn. The first season is by far the best of the bunch, and it does a fantastic job of setting the world's rules in a way that feels authentic to an MMORPG. While Shiro is the lead, the anime emphasizes the importance of forming a community, all the while also highlighting the NPCs who must adapt to the players. Although disappointing, the sequels are not terrible either. Comment which Isekai manga, light novel, or manhwa set in a game would you like to see adapted into an anime?
Hello. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future content, comment and let me know. I know many are not comfortable with AI art, but I am saving to gather supplies to delve into other art styles. It will take time, but I am hoping to get into resin, woodworking, and metalworking. All I ask, please enjoy my videos.